Hello everybody, my name is Lil Burrs. I am a speedrunner and moderator for the game Space Marine 2. And this video is going to be a guide on how to speedrun Operation Number 5 Fall of Atreus. Now, in speedrunning at least, this operation is one of the more underplayed operations due to a lot of standing around mixed with RNG elements, so it makes it kind of frustrating to play. But before we get into the actual operation itself, let's talk classes. Now, the operation is pretty straightforward as it's just speed to get from point A to point B as quick as you can. So if you're playing solo, Assault and Vanguard are going to be your go-to classes. While playing in co-op, you will still bring the Assault and Vanguard, but the third will change depending on difficulty or preference of the playstyle of the group. If you're looking for more offensive capabilities, tactical will always bring that with its Auspex scan and its diverse weapon choices, while Bulwark will be able to round out a more defensive type group with its chapter banner abilities and its way to protect teammates and hard points a lot easier. Now that we talked about classes, let's get into the actual operation itself. Now we're in the actual operation itself. The first part of this operation is pretty straightforward as we're just following the linear path around until we get to the first dreadnought section. There is a big invisible barrier here that doesn't allow us to jump down and skip parts of this beginning section, so we do have to run around the whole thing, but again, pretty straightforward. Just don't kill enemies, run past them, and get to the first dreadnought section. Now we get to the first dreadnought section of this operation. This section, we clear the first wave, and then we escort the Dreadnought, finding multiple waves of Chaos enemies throughout his path until we get to the Cathedral up here, where we can open the gates and continue on to the operation. Now, there is one thing I will say about this section of this operation, is that after you kill this initial wave and the Dreadnought starts taking his path up to the Cathedral, there is a chance that enemies do not spawn at the respective trigger points when the Dreadnought is taking his path, therefore making it a straight path up to the gate where the Dreadnought will not stop and fight. He will just keep walking for the most part with small movements here and there, which just allows us to get past this part extremely quickly. It is a low chance, I've seen it a few times, but that is a possibility for RNG in this section. Now that we have escorted the Dreadnought, we get to the Cathedral section. This is another section of RNG. When you activate the crane and it starts lifting the pallets of cinder blocks and whatnot out of the hole for us to jump into eventually, there is a chance that during it will turn off and you'll have to flip two switches within a certain amount of time of each other to reactivate the crane to continue lifting up the pallets to let us continue. Obviously, the RNG we're looking for is to not get these switches flipped so the crane just goes from 0 to 100% without stopping. Now that we made it out of the Cathedral, the next section again is pretty linear and straightforward, as we're just going to rush through the underground section, which will then bring us up top here to this factory, which we will then run through, and then which will take us to the next Dreadnought section. Now I made it to the final Dreadnought section of the operation. This section was actually changed a little bit by Saber themselves. They did in a previous patch note mention that there is a chance for this trigger not to happen with the whole repelling the assault thing. So the RNG we're obviously looking to get here is just for this to not trigger and not happen at all. So you'll basically get to this section of the operation, there'll be some dialogue, and then it will just go to the dialogue where at the end of the assault would have happened, and the doors will just open and you can continue through the operation to the battery section. Now we've made it to the end of the operation where we have to escort the fusion battery train to its proper charging station and then up to where it can charge the ship, and then where we can launch the ship to end the operation. Now, like in the last section, Saber also tweaked this part as well, whereas beforehand you could either get 1 or 2 charges on the fusion battery at the respective charging stations. They have since removed the need to ever get 2 charges, so you will always only ever get 1 charge necessary, which makes this section a lot more consistent for speedrunning, as we no longer have to fish for the RNG of only having to charge it once. Now, this last section of the operation is going to drastically change whether or not you are playing solo or co-op. Obviously, if you are playing solo, you're going to be the one doing all the work here, as the AI cannot press the buttons or move the train, obviously. So you're going to be the one who's moving the train and pressing the track buttons to realign the track so it can get to its proper charging station. And then you're going to be doing this track to get it to the ship charging station all by yourself. So that can cause some problems. Well, if you're playing co-op, you can have one person follow the train around while 2 people control the buttons that need to be pressed to then move the train along quickly as possible. Obviously, we're going to find the charging station that is completely lit up with the red light and the other lights, as the other ones will be pretty dormant and dark, so you'll know which one to get it to, so you know which ones to start setting up immediately. The second you press the button, you can have people come over here and start realigning tracks if needed. So this section will be a little different from the rest of the operation, as you're pretty much just running through it, while this part will change drastically on if you're playing solo and co-op, respectfully. Now that the battery is charged and we've escorted the train up the hill, so the battery can now start charging the big ship. Once we get the battery in here, we're just going to defend until the bar in the top right hits 100%. Then we're just going to hit the switch right here to activate the ship to then end the operation. And that is how to speedrun operation number 5 of Fall of Atreus. I will say this operation is the longest to even speedrun, even after the changes Saber has made, which I will put a picture of those on screen right now during my monologue so you guys can read them for yourself. But this operation is the longest by several minutes. Even in speedrunning, the next closest operation to this would be Inferno, and that still is several minutes faster. So don't feel disheartened if you're getting longer times on this operation, as this operation is really just comes down to standing around and waiting, and hopefully you get the good RNG in those waiting sections. Like I said earlier, it's underplayed just because it's kind of boring. For speedrunning, at least, it's not really super fun to run. There's nothing really crazy you can do. It's just standing around waiting and hoping you get the good RNG, which is not always the funnest thing to do in speedrunning. But I hope you like this video. I hope it's informative and helps you. Good luck on your runs and good hunting.